As you get more track experience, you're going to find that maybe you're wanting more out of the car. More suspension, possibly more power, although generally driver improvement and suspension tires are basically your best bang for the buck. Most people going to the track are going to still want to be able to enjoy their cars on the street. So some things to keep in mind is keep the car street legal, keep it simple, keep it reliable. The worst thing you can do is make a monster car that it's on the verge of breaking. If you don't finish the day, you're going to have that much downtime you're not going to be enjoying. Our approach to race cars is it's a lot easier to do the maintenance or the repairs or the modifications at the shop than at the track. So think about what's going to be happening at the track and any weaknesses that you've been aware of on the car, and get those taken care of at home or in your shop before you take it to the track. Things that, a little bit of oil leaking, a noise, a rattle, what are the belts doing? On these cars, it's a good idea to check the cams periodically. Doesn't take a lot of track miles to equal a lot of street miles. So while it may not be that many times to the track or very many track miles, the cam's getting a lot of abuse. Make it a practice. If it's not between each track day, if you're running it real hard, or a race weekend, check it, as you're doing the oil change. Make sure the lug studs are tight and that they're not coming loose. You may want to consider changing them after a couple years. If you do a lot of track days where you're taking wheels on and off, torquing them all the time, they can fatigue, and that's holding your wheel on. The last thing you want is a wheel coming off at the track. The engine mount bolts where it bolts to the transmission. Those bolts can commonly come loose. It's not a bad idea to use studs that are Loctited in with nuts. Good high strength race hardware is probably the best bet. Much stronger than just a bolt bolted into aluminum. More so on the supercharged cars, but even the NA cars at the track, the stock mounts, these are where we put the studs and nuts, is on these brackets that go into the bell housing. On these two mounts, you can either put a urethane insert or change them out to a solid urethane mount. The stock mounts have a lot of flex to them, and it actually affects the shifting. It's a much more positive shifting once you've changed out or added the mount inserts. Even for just normal street use, the inserts are a good upgrade. Fuel system is also something you want to keep an eye on. If you talk to the guys at Laguna Seca and mention Lotus, they'll say fire. Apparently there's been a few Lotus fires out there, and it's usually fuel related. Look over your fuel lines, the connections, make sure all the red safety clips are in place so the lines can't come detached accidentally. I like to keep things simple in the engine bay. We rebaffle the fuel tank versus doing a surge tank. On an NA car, you just don't need more volume. You generally don't need to be adjusting the fuel pressure. Any of the things that the surge tank might allow you to do, you just don't need generally with an NA car. Here in Northern California, we've got Thunder Hill. In the midsummer, mid to late summer, it can easily be over 100 degrees, 110 degrees. So take things like heat into account. How's the cooling system on the car? The stock plastic and aluminum radiator in the front may already be kind of on its breaking point. We've seen these radiators fail, start leaking. The good news is you'll know when it's happening because you'll start getting coolant on the windshield. If you ever get these little wisps of fluid on your windshield, it may not be raining, it may be coolant. So investigate, find out what's going on. This car's kind of the extreme of a street track prep. It's got 4-point harnesses. It's a Reverie racing seat that's got very good side support, shoulder support. This seat will hold you in place. You're not going to worry about moving around. You're going to be totally be relaxed to do your steering. At the end of the session, your heart rate's going to be lower. You're not going to be quite so hot and exhausted. More focused on your driving. From the underside of the car, not only can you see the gas tank, but you can see some extra plates that were added to the underside. These are to mount the seats in. Instead of the seat bolts just going into threaded inserts in the aluminum, they go all the way through with the plate, washers, and nuts from the bottom side, and then the 6-point ties into the floor as well. This plate here is for the shifter reinforcer that just ties the shifter better to the floor, makes it much more positive shifting. Street car, track car, race car, doing something to reinforce the shifter to the floor is a must. These cars only have a front sway bar. On this particular car, the front bar has been changed out to a race bar that's adjustable. The track pack bar is usually yellow, sometimes black, but it'll have 5 holes, and that allows you a little bit of adjustability to change the balance of the car. Keep an eye on, as you're doing your maintenance, keep an eye on any oil leaks from the transmission, engine, oil cooler adapter, oil pan. Check your CV boots, make sure the boots are holding up, no leaks, no grease being flung around. Whatever toe link setup you have, especially the track pack setup, make sure there's no play in the heim joints, make sure everything's torqued properly. Brake hardware, make sure everything looks appropriate, everything's tight. Every once in a while you may want to go in and lube the sliders and just make sure everything's in good shape. This is factory track pack. The joints look different than the heim joints on the aftermarket ones. It's got a nylon insert to it, and that nylon is susceptible to heat and to just wear. So they tend to loosen up. This car may be able to hear it, and you may be able to see it. I can feel it and I can hear it as I grab a hold of the tire and put stresses on this and get it to move. Basically, to check them, grab a hold of the wheel and go this way. If you feel any play, it's generally going to be in these. To make sure it's not wheel bearing or something else, grab the tire top and bottom and do the same thing. If you feel it in that direction as well, then it may be wheel bearing, loose wheel, something else not so good. This car is tight. It's a little high to put my hand top and bottom, but it's definitely loose this way. So he definitely needs the toe link kit put on. This car's got braided brake lines, the stainless steel lines. This will give you a more firm, higher, just more confidence building pedal, more feedback from the brakes because you don't have the flex in the hose as you really start getting on the brakes. We don't see a lot of failures of the rubber hoses, but as the cars get older, we may start seeing an actual failure of the rubber. So between the age of the vehicle and just a nice upgrade for a firmer pedal, definitely recommend the stainless steel lines. For track use, the gear oil should be changed more often than the street. Every 30,000 miles for the street, probably once a season minimum for track use. The gearbox is taking quite a beating, so the gear oil is getting used pretty hard. We use a mix of MT90 and some racing fluid that work real well. Anything more than just the near R compound tires for the track, as you get up to speed, start going faster and running the R comps, you're definitely going to want a good baffled oil pan. This will protect your engine, make sure your rod bearings are kept in good shape. Even with the pan, you want to make sure your oil's full and you're not losing some oil during the weekend. Definitely check your fluids before you go to the track. So after watching this video, you're probably thinking, is this going to make my car break more often or have problems, or is it just too much work? for the most part, if you go in, do fluids, make sure pads are good, tires are good, you're going to go to the track and you're going to have a great day. You're not going to have to worry about all these problems. Just checking the car in between track days, whether it's a Lotus, a Corvette, a Miata. You know, each car has different stresses, different problems. Keep an eye on it. Take care of it and have a good day at the track.